GF puts pillow over my head during sex. My 29M, GF, 23F, and I have been together for a little over 3 months. Everything between us is amazing. We have a great relationship for being pretty new. Other than this one issue, if I laugh or basically even smile during sex, she will immediately put a pillow over my head and insist it stays, otherwise, no more sex that night. I tend to enjoy myself and think sex should be fun, so I tend to smile and even laugh a little if something funny happens. She insists it is serious business and gets mad and uses the pillow if she thinks I'm smiling too much. Is she right? Do I need to be more serious? Or is she a bit crazy? If it matters, she is fairly more experienced than me. She is fairly more experienced than me. And yet you understand how sex ought to be done, and she doesn't. No, it shouldn't always be serious. I laugh all the time with my husband during sex. I loved that it was comfortable and easy. We still have passionate moments, but what you said feels incredibly disrespectful. Withholding sex because you're enjoying it? Weird. Am I the only one who saw this one episode of Sex Education talking about the exact same thing? Like, yikes, I thought I'd only see this in a show. I don't know how to help but be careful, my dude. It's a fake post, that's why. Maybe she just thinks you're laughing at her and it makes her uncomfortable. Just speak to each other. You can solve most problems with talking them out. Yeah. You might want to know why the idea of showing positive emotions during an enjoyable experience is so distressing to her. Also, putting a pillow over your face can make it hard to breathe / actually cause you to asphyxiate, which some folks are into, but hey, consent. And B, the time limit on that should be until you are ready to stop, not until sex is over. I, 20F, shouted, left the house, and enrolled in a hotel isolation program after my dad was diagnosed with COVID, all without consulting him. I have conflicted feelings and don't know how to address the fallout of my decision. This is going to be long because all of the information feels important, though I'm sure it's not. For background, I, 20F, live with my dad, his girlfriend and her son, 15M. Around November, I got sick with a mystery illness that includes mild moderate COVID-like symptoms, still ongoing and undiagnosed. And in case you're wondering, I tested negative for the virus and for antibodies. Ever since then, I've been anxious about getting the real thing because now I know what it feels like to have trouble just going to the kitchen. It's scary. Around that time, I started a conversation with my dad. Since he and the others somewhat often saw friends and family without wearing a mask, and also invited people over who also did not wear masks, I asked him to consider taking the precautions that the CDC recommends: social distancing, wearing a mask, limiting socialization if possible. I also tried to reach a compromise with him when he pushed back, but ultimately, he feels like COVID is similar to the flu, and that life needs to go on because we don't know how long it's going to last, and it's a matter of when, not if, we get it. I realize it's his house, and he shouldn't have to change the way he lives his life because I'm scared, though a compromise would have been nice. So I started wearing a mask around the house, I limited the times I left my room, and hand sanitizer became my best friend. Things have been tense, but I think they know I'm just scared. Still, I haven't had a proper conversation with my dad's girlfriend or son in a while. Fast forward to yesterday, the day my worst fear came true. My mom called and told me that my dad tested positive. Think I had a bit of a panic attack. I yelled, "What?" And ran upstairs to grab my mask and coat, shouting, "These people go outside like it's nothing, of course this was going to happen. It's fucking ridiculous." And I stormed out. Everyone definitely heard. My mom, and later my boyfriend, managed to calm me down. My mom wanted me to go stay somewhere else, and she wanted to pay for a hotel for me, but I remembered a program offered by the local government. Alehouse, feed and monitor me for 10 days, to prevent spread. I called to sign up, got in, and informed my dad over text. He got mad and said he was hurt. He says I should have consulted him first, and he wonders where my empathy is and why I am not concerned for him. And of course, my shouting was not cool and it was rude to the people I live with. I take responsibility for shouting. My mom and boyfriend tell me it's not my fault, but I think it is. Even if it was caused by anxiety, it's not cool to shout like that. But I don't think I needed to consult him on my decision to leave, and where was his empathy when I got sick and I wanted to be more careful? Maybe I would have stayed if I felt like he cared, and at least took some precautions. I don't know. But when I left and saw my dad and his girlfriend sitting on opposite sides of the couch with masks on, I felt guilty. Should I have supported him like that? My aunt took my dad's side. My mom and boyfriend say they see my dad's side but they see no problem in how I reacted. So now I'm wondering if I was really in the wrong here. Can you guys give me your perspectives and advice on how to clean up the mess I made with the people I live with? You got it backwards. He owes you an apology. Why? Because it's a parent's job to protect their children. And although COVID would not likely kill you, it could cause you serious long-term damage. We don't even know yet the full extent of potential damage. And let's face it, if he got seriously ill or died, that would directly affect your well-being. He refused to protect you and had no empathy for you. Of course you got angry and stressed. You did nothing wrong. He did. Not only does he owe up an apology, he owes all the healthcare workers that potentially have to deal with them. The selfishness of people failing to follow public health guidelines continues to astound me a year in. Healthcare workers are dying, don't put them at risk. Honestly, I don't think you overreacted or did something wrong. Do whatever you need for feeling safe. It's selfish to decide not to follow the security measures for your family's sake, and honestly it's not that hard. The only thing that could have been a little bit better is direct confrontation instead of just shouting. Seen from afar looks a little bit passive-aggressive. But then again, no one would blame you for reacting like that. This fucking virus is driving us all crazy and I would definitely have done the same thing as you, leaving just like that. I don't think you overreacted or made the wrong choice here. If you feel guilty for shouting, reach out and apologize for that, but only that. Your dad did not consult you when he invited maskless people over. He did not consult you when he went around maskless. You're not a minor, so you don't need to consult him now. You are showing him the exact same amount of respect he's shown you. So really, why is he complaining? Honestly, I would have moved out the moment I realized he's not taking the pandemic seriously, but that's your call and I know it's not always possible. You're being smart now and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Maybe use your isolation time to try and find another living situation if at all possible. I'm just kind of sitting here wondering why any parent, no matter the age of their kids, does not give a flying fuck when their child says they are scared. Even if I was 80 years old and my son was in his 50s, I'd race over to him to do what I could. It's not even like you were asking much. Wear a mask, don't mingle with other unmaskers, know your distance, etc. Shame on your dad for that. Because your dad deliberately ignored safety and caution, you had to take matters in your own hands as the clear adult of the household. You did everything right, and you are a grown woman who can leave if she wants to. Furthermore, this pity party he's throwing after he did nothing in the face of a pandemic is so pathetic. I feel he needs to face his consequences since he stupidly thinks there are none. Play with fire and you get burned. Maybe let things settle down a bit and reach out to him since he now seems to be getting the right idea. Don't even think about considering doing that as cleaning up the mess you made. That's you being the bigger person when your dad fiddled the good times away and was unprepared for the bad, which he was warned about. Everyone treats me like I'm 30F, my fiancé's 30M, misbehaving pet who should be grateful he's giving me a second chance and it's destroying my self-esteem. We've been together for 7 years, but we broke up 2 years ago. I was the one who broke up with him because everyone was treating me like a prop in my fiancé's life, including him. I was sick of it, and after our son was born it only got worse and I felt like I had stopped being a person to everyone. Eventually, when our son was a year old, I finally snapped and told him I wanted to break up. My fiancé and friends were complete dicks when I left. I had a horrible pregnancy, so my fiancé insisted I quit and just relax since he thought I should be as arm anyway. That was a mistake because once I left, I was pretty much left all alone overnight with a baby to take care of and no income. I was depressed and stressed all of the time, and my so-called friends were treating me like a social pariah. Even my best friend, who used me for emotional support when she found out her husband was cheating on her, would barely answer my calls. My fiancé treated me like a mild inconvenience whenever he came to see our son. One day I broke down crying when he was over. I can't even remember what I exactly said to him, but I remember he was super angry at me and kept asking me if I thought he wanted any of this and if I thought he liked only seeing his son part-time. We slept together, and after that, he started treating me even worse than before. I started having pregnancy symptoms, but I didn't want it to be true, so I tried to ignore it. I eventually took a test even though I already knew by that point. I was a mess and reached out to my best friend, who hadn't spoken to me in months because I was too terrified to tell my fiancé and I didn't have anyone else I could confide in. That was a mistake because she and her husband gallantly contacted my fiancé as soon as I got off the phone and made me seem like this evil cow who was going to secretly have the baby and never tell him. Eventually, I moved back in with him because it was the best decision for our son's care. It was supposed to be as roommates, but that went out of the window fast. It started feeling like he was just using me for sex, since he would pretty much ignore me otherwise unless it was to do with the kids, and I was too pathetic to ever say no to him. He only started being nicer when the doctor thought I was losing too much weight and it was dangerous for the baby. We've been working on our relationship and things are slowly getting better. However, everyone now treats me like I'm his misbehaving pet who should be grateful he's giving me a second chance. I don't know why I'm even surprised, because it's always been like this. I remember when I first met my fiancé, he made it obvious he wanted to sleep with me, and when I told my best friend, who introduced us, she made a comment about if he was being that obvious, he would eventually get what he wanted, because he always did. When she found out I had moved back in with him, she made a comment about how she told me this was how things would end and she hoped I had fun whilst I was having my little tantrum. Others have made similar comments too, and if I mention I want to do something, they make comments about how they're shocked my fiancé is being so nice and letting me waste his money after what I did. Even my fiancé's family like to remind me every time they visit how lucky I am my fiancé decided to grace me with a second chance and I should behave. Every single time someone makes a comment like this, I feel like crap afterwards, and I feel like my self-esteem is slowly being eaten away. It's like no one values me anymore as my own person, and I'm really just this thing whose only purpose is to do whatever my fiancé wants. How do I stop letting what everyone says/thinks get to me? Too long didn't read, my fiancé and I separated because everyone, including him, treated me like I was just a prop in his life. We're working on our relationship, but people now treat me like I'm his misbehaving pet who should be worshipping the ground he walks on for giving me a second chance. People are weighing in here with extremely varied advice. The reason being that there is actually no information here to give advice on. Literally nobody on Reddit can give you advice with the information you've given. It reads either as you're being abused or you're paranoid, and legitimately we don't have any way of knowing. I'm really sorry if it's the former. Either way, therapy and a job are the answers. Just to clarify, my fiancé insisted I quit and just relax since he thought I should be his arm anyway. That was a mistake, because once I left, I was pretty much left all alone overnight with a baby to take care of and no income. My fiancé treated me like a mild inconvenience whenever he came to see our son. So you quit your job to have no income and you weren't sharing his income or living with him? He was an occasional parent,